Okay, so I've been sitting on this album for a little bit now, trying to figure out some kind of opinion about this album, and this was a hard one to form. So yeah, I'm going to get into it. Running around holding on to your head. Screens by District 97. So District 97 is one of those contemporary progressive rock bands. They formed themselves back in 2006 in Chicago, USA. They're doing a lot of what some really fantastic bands are doing, blending this avant-garde, jazzy approach to the modern progressive rock stylings. Their first album, Of the Hybrid Child, released in 2010, really knocked me out. I really enjoyed this album. Then they followed it up in 2012 with Trouble with the Machine, and in Vault in 2015 was another one that actually I really enjoyed. Not quite as much as The Hybrid Child, but it still had some really nice bangers on there. Each of these albums produced that avant-garde, very technical playing style blended in with this soothing, off-kilter vocal work. And this is something that I always loved of the band. Leslie Holt, the lead singer, and she also provides some backing vocals and harmonizing with one of the lead guitarists of Jim Chastron. The two, whenever they're singing together, do a really great job of harmonizing and providing a fantastic through line with a lot of these tracks. Leslie's vocals are quite haunting, they're quite vibrative, but at no point do I really ever feel completely moved. And that's not necessarily to do her a disservice. She has some great chops within it, and they do blend very well. She has sometimes an off-kilter kind of a feel, but she also is able to bring them down and be very subtle about them as well. And this is something that the band does really well, is playing within a very strange time signature. And I feel like sometimes that's their main trick, is providing this amazing time signature that the band is really playing around in, and seeing what kind of rhythms and flows that they can construct within this more limiting and very precise time signature that they're keeping. But unfortunately, even with all this really fun creative outpour that the band is doing, I don't feel myself getting all that connected to it, which is very strange because this has most of the formula of a band that I would love. It's female-centered, with Leslie being on vocals. It utilizes some really interesting time signatures and even some really longer playouts, especially with the last track of Ghost Girl and kind of one of the mid-tracks of Bread and Yarn. But maybe because I've been exposed to a few of those bands, such as Bent Knee and Mulettes and Caterpillar, or Ooh, as I like to call them, I found myself not being able to hold on to many of these songs outside of the ones that I've already mentioned, especially within this particular album of Screens. And most of these tracks, even though I've listened to this album quite a number of times since it was released last month, I honestly can't really tell you of any real moment that came out. There was no standout guitar work. There was no real standout keyboard work. The vocal works are probably the only thing that really stand out for me, and that just kind of proves how talented Leslie is. This is one of the risks that you run when you're dealing with this type of music. I think listening to this music in the moment is a fantastic time. It's just when you're removed from the moment that I'm like, wait, what was it that they were playing again? And this is even after becoming familiar with the music itself. The only two tracks, as I mentioned, that I really liked was Bread and Yarn, as well as Ghost Girl. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Bread and Yarn, and what I really liked about this. I like how it starts off very slow, and it allows itself to grow. It's got a good 7.5 minutes to really build itself up, and it takes its time doing so. And so when we get to some of those more interesting playouts and some of those more interesting build-ups, it allows for the song to really develop in that space. And so by the time we get to the end part, we're really invested in the track. We are really excited to see where the song is going. And same with Ghost Girl. Although I'm not a big fan of Ghost Girl, I think I like Bread and Yarn a little bit more. It might even just be how the song ends, because the song just kind of peters out at the end, and it's got a couple really big moments, and then it's kind of done. And I feel like there's not a whole lot to grab onto in that sense. And I'm trying really hard to grab onto the track, especially when they're like, they call me Ghost Girl. And I really like that rhythm and flow. But outside of the rhythm and flow, there's not a whole lot to grab onto. And there are a few tracks on here that kind of get a little bit on my nerves. Trigger is probably the big one, where the rhythm doesn't quite work, and it almost sounds a little bit on the annoying side. I know, I don't like using those strong negative words, but it's just like when it comes in, it's just like da, 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 da. I'm like, okay, I got it. Let's do something a little bit more. And the other track that I kind of like is Shapeshifter. I like how grooving the bass is, and I do like how strange this track is in that sense, but yeah, still overall, unless I'm like listening to it, I can't really think about too many things about it. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of the same for a lot of these tracks. Like when I'm listening to it, I'm enjoying my time and I'm getting a lot out of it. But once I'm out of the album, I don't feel particularly drawn back to it. I don't feel particularly that fondly about it afterwards. So yeah, that's about it. Like that's about it for Screens from District 97. One that I probably won't be coming back to, I'll probably keep to Hybrid Child, which is interesting. Like this is the longest that they've gone between albums. So I was also kind of expecting a little bit more, considering that every other album that they've put out have come out either like 2 or 3 years apart. This one has come out a full 4 years. Yeah, my overall rating, because I guess I have to do that now, would be a stream. This is a stream for Screens. A little play on words there. But yeah, it's one that I would still kind of recommend, but I wouldn't come back to. So yeah, that's about it for Screens by District 97. What did you guys think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know of your own thoughts by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.